What up, guys? Today we are talking about the first thing you should do if you're lost in the woods. But before I go into that, let's talk and at least mention what you should do before you go off into the woods. Morris Kahansky, he's a Canadian boreal forest survival expert, really like an amazing source of information. But he says a spaceman wouldn't go into space without a spacesuit, and you shouldn't go into the woods without a lighter. And additionally, spacemen have like an entire mission control guiding them. You know, like Houston, we have a problem, um, or Florida. Like there's big organizations commanding that mission, and so in North America, particularly, survival situations are over if you've established that mission control and told somebody where you're going and when you'll return. So, like 72 hours is really all that we have to be out there for, provided that we've met those rules. Most situations are over, like an overwhelming number of cases of people lost in the woods over in 72 hours, provided that they've told somebody where they're going and when they can return. But back to what we were talking about. Once you realize you're lost in the woods and you know it's going to be a while, or you're just lost and you're like panicking, the first thing you should do is pick up a stick. Stick Nation, what's up? So we teach, this one's a bow drill, right? But it's still a stick. We teach throwing sticks in our survival essentials classes because if you're walking a trail, particularly like slowly and like in touch with nature and not trying, like in hunt mode, right? Not in traipsing through the woods like, you know, overweight American. If we're moving intelligently, panther walking through the woods, stopping, continuing to walk, making sure that our like signature is low, there's a really, really good chance that you're going to stir up some wildlife. That might be a bird, that might be a rabbit, squirrels, maybe a turkey. And having a stick in your hand is a wonderful way to capitalize on a food source should it be presented to you. And we don't want to pass it up, but we're going to pass it up if we don't have a stick to throw at it. Did you know? So we teach throwing sticks, but did you know that the boomerang was a primitive hunting weapon? You know, this like toy that hopefully we've all played with as a kid. It started off as a hunting weapon. Also like a yo-yo, very interesting. Started off as a hunting weapon. Both of these are like projectiles, and they have the ability to like return to you. So some boomerangs, if you study them, you'll see that they are cut in different shapes. And that's very interesting because those shapes correspond to like when the boomerang gets lift. So if we're hunting a bird and it starts flapping away, that stick is going to rise with the bird, provided that you've thrown it level and you've carved it correctly. So a throwing stick, it's an invaluable tool that's been used for thousands of years. So we have the boomerang, and they're the different profiles. The throwing stick is the first evolution of that, and it's literally just a stick that is probably a lighter wood. This one is poplar, which interesting is magnolia if you're talking about the poplar in the region where we are, the tulip poplar, not the tulip poplar for the rest of the world. And so I want to share it with you. That I heard at survival schools the first thing you do is pick up a stick, but when we were doing a survival evolution in West Virginia, I learned this the hard way. So what's a survival evolution, right? And it's a gamified survival scenario. So, and if you're familiar with the 80-20 rule, uh, you know, 80% of your profits come from like 20% of your work. It applies in this scenario too. And it applies everywhere, but you just have to figure out how it applies. But 80% of the lessons in a survival situation can be pulled in like 20% of the time by like going out and intentionally practicing skills. Now, a survival evolution might be like you have to go out and get friction fire from the landscape or shelter. Oftentimes, when we stage these for people in our survival school, we have like a game system. So you make reverse wrap cordage, and that'll earn you some paracord. You make a charcoal water filter that'll earn you like a Katadyn pocket. Or you make a container or a bowl or a spoon, and that'll earn you a canteen. And that way it just like speeds up the process, because time, living in modern society, time is like the resource that's like hardest for us to like fit in the bounds of. So we've gamified the survival scenario so that we can learn lessons faster, for the people that come out to survival school. And you're not like months at a time sitting out in the woods. We can get a lot accomplished in a smaller amount of time by earning back some of the modern conveniences. But anyway, so we're on a survival evolution, and I'd heard this like get yourself a stick, and for whatever reason I ignored it, and I'm walking along the path. Now this is like a gravel road. I'm walking along the gravel road in thick, like West Virginia overgrown mining territory. So we were contending with like heavy metals in the creek, and it was just a really like, unforgiving place, for the most part. So I'm walking along, and one of the reasons it was unforgiving is because rattlesnakes populated this region. And I never really experienced a rattlesnake, but I tell you what, walking along that gravel path, hearing that shake of the tail, it is chilling, and immediately, uh, like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? All of your attention goes to that sound. And uh, when it was on the left side of the path, I'm walking up close to the brush, where the brush meets the gravel road, and I hear that rattle of the rattlesnake's tail, and immediately like I Heisman maneuver, and like get away from it, but quickly I realize, oh man, this is an opportunity for me to get some food. So I grabbed a stick, and it wasn't the nicest stick. It was actually a piece of like Japanese knotweed, which is similar to bamboo, but it wasn't very strong. I quickly used my knife to like sharpen the edge of it, and I'm holding the snake's head down with this like pointy edge. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what do I do? Do I take my knife out and like stab its head? And like I'm kind of freaking out. And I ultimately what happened was I decided to stab the snake with a less than ideal stick. And as I'm jamming this like sharpened piece of Japanese knotweed into the top of this snake's head, this my stick snaps and breaks, releasing all the pressure from the rattlesnake. And the I was devastated, right? Because now the snake is like slithering back into further into the brush, and I'm not gonna follow it, right? If I go back into the brush, I know the snake's got me. So I had to let that one go. But if I had a sturdy stick, I would have gotten it. I could have held it to the ground. I could have had it gotten away. I could have like hit at it, and I eventually would have got it. I would have had food on the table, and that was a super valuable lesson for me to like learn the hard way in this survival evolution. So get yourself a stick, is the takeaway. As soon as you realize that you're lost, and capitalize on all the food that is like everywhere, but we can't get it without a tool, without risking severe bodily harm. Now, there's an interesting acronym for people that get by snakes. It's called YAMS, and that's young aggressive males. I was definitely one at that time because I wanted to eat, and but I'm relaying that acronym because if you see a snake, don't be a yam and get bit by a snake, because that's going to hurt your survival chances even worse. And the snake can bite the stick all at once, but as long as it's not you. So get yourself a stick. Now, another takeaway from the get yourself a stick is like Filipino martial arts. Now, we teach variations of that here at the school. We do like combat concepts. We do like employing blades as well as like firearms, because like we're working with modern society, and if everybody else has a gun or has a knife, we need to be able to employ those systems quickly so that we come out on the top of a fight. You know what I mean? And we're not trying to fight anybody. We're trying to defend what's important to us, and that's ourselves and our families and our communities, arguably. the use of force scale, that's up for you to decide. Maybe that's another video in itself. But the root of all that is like in Filipino martial arts is like stick fighting. We see it in Robin Hood with like the staff fighting. We see it in Filipino martial arts with like the double stick action. So like every culture, every like everybody everywhere, if we go back for long enough, they were fighting with sticks. Whether it's like the war clubs or just stick fighting, or even bows and arrows, right? Like Agincourt, launching bows and arrows. That was a decisive military improvement. Was how do we make sticks more lethal? So again, it comes back to getting yourself a stick in a survival situation. That's the number one thing that you should do, other than telling people where you're going and when you're going to return, is once you're lost, get yourself a stick. Tell me how I'm wrong. I'm sure the comments will say we'll see some things that are different. But I know from experience that you want a sturdy stick as soon as you realize that you're lost. So thanks for watching this video. If you made it this far, I know you have a passion for life and are serious about surviving whatever the universe throws at you. Drop us a like. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss a video. SustainableHomestead.com is the place for more information. Shave decades off the time it would take you to figure this stuff out on your own. Look through our resource library of survival and permaculture tips and tricks. Join the weekly Homestead Mastermind meeting, where we're talking about how to build abundance for yourself, your family, and your community with a bunch of like-minded people, bushcraft, survivalists, homesteaders, farmers, ranchers, project managers. We're all there sharing ideas and building a brighter future through the exchange of knowledge. As always, preparation today means peace of mind tomorrow. So I hope to see you in the future. Thanks for watching.